Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Make It Meaningful, discussing donor engagement strategies. We are thrilled to have Iman Osagi today from Double the Donation. She's going to give you all kinds of tips and tricks to help you with your year-end fundraising, making sure you're engaging your donors effectively this season. Few housekeeping items before we get started. Yes, this webinar is being recorded and the slides will be sent to you. So if you missed something, no worries. We'll make sure to get that over to you after the session is complete. Also, we love helping you and we're really here for you today. So if you have any questions at any point, definitely drop them in the chat. Iman will be happy to answer them for you at the end. Also, did want to call out that we do have some free resources available on our website, achievecauses.com/resources. There's all kinds of blogs and free downloads. There's a great year-end giving guide that you can download for free. So definitely check that out and see if there's anything that might help you. We also do have some upcoming webinars. We do these pretty regularly as a give back for all of our nonprofit friends. So in January, if you need help planning your multi-channel fundraising campaigns for next year, feel free to join us and our friend Abby. She'll be there to help you in January. And also in February, we have a really great opportunity that's good, not just for nonprofit employees, but maybe for your board members or your volunteers, helping them to understand nonprofit financial statements to help your organization. So if that's of interest to you, you can sign up on our website. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Iman.
Perfect. Thank you, Erica. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And thank you again for having me. My name is Iman Osagi, and today I'm going to speak on making meaningful, really discussing a donor engagement strategy for your nonprofit organization. So a little bit about me. So I'm a client success manager at Double the Donation, which is a leading provider of matching gift software. So we help nonprofits of all sizes, educational institutions to help them raise more money in really corporate matching gifts and volunteer grant programs. So I've been with Double the Donation for 4 years now. I'm really passionate about nonprofits. I've really, since I graduated college about 5 years ago, have volunteered at a bunch of nonprofits, also worked at nonprofit organizations as well, and I still volunteer to this day. So of course, Double the Donation is a perfect fit because really on a daily basis, I get to speak with nonprofits of all sizes, and a common denominator and discussion that we have is getting their donors engaged, always improving their donor engagement, specifically for matching gifts. But even outside of that, it's really important that as a nonprofit, you have a donor engagement plan. You're also, as your donor base continues to grow, improving that donor base as well. So this is just, really wanted to highlight the key takeaways for this discussion today. So some of the steps for donor engagement success. The first one that I'll be talking about is maximizing your relationship with your first-time donors. So it's always, important and definitely a task that all of nonprofits have to really get and start to increase the first-time donors that they have. And they're always looking for different ways to engage first-time donors as well. So I'll talk about that. Next point that I'll be talking about is in terms of reoccurring donors. So you have a first-time donor. How do you really transition a first-time donor to give again within that same calendar year, or even better, become a monthly donor or even more consistently give more than once a month? Third point that I'll be talking about is related to major donors and wealth screening tools to help with identifying who your major donors are and also identifying potential major donors that are within your part of your constituent base as well. Last point that I'll be talking about is related to corporate philanthropy. So I mentioned that I work for Double the Donation, which is related to part of corporate philanthropy when we talk about matching gifts and volunteer grants. So if you're not familiar with that, I'll talk about that. If you are, that's great as well. And we'll definitely have time for a Q&A at the end. Feel free to add any questions you have in the chat throughout the discussion. I will, go into detail, really answer any questions that you have near the end. Okay, so in terms of end of year giving, so definitely we're in the, really in the thick of it. We had the Giving Tuesday that was just wrapped up at the end of November, and now we're in December. So I'm sure you all are busy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to really have a discussion and learn more. I hope that you're able to take some points with you and implement it within this end of year time. So we all know it's a very big deal, and it makes sense to invest in planning towards it as well. Even though we are in December, it's never too late to improve or even just start a plan right now if your organization currently doesn't have one. So over 30% of annual giving occurs in December. So I just wanted to highlight some of the metrics that we have related to end of year giving. Donors significantly give during Giving Tuesday, especially if your organization has really promoted Giving Tuesday and the end of year, weeks before then. And typically the last 3 days of the year is where more than 10% of giving happens. So and that's really for all nonprofits, no matter the size. So as you are thinking about wrapping up 2021, it's really important to show gratitude to your donors. That could come in different ways, especially based on your donor base. It may be due to maybe if your donor base is online focused, it would make sense to send newsletters online, emails, social media, promoting and thanking those donors. If your donors, you receive most of your individual contributions through direct mail, it may make sense to send a postcard, having it be a bit more personal and something that your donors would appreciate. So I'll be talking about donors in terms of different segments for this discussion. I think it's really important that you have a understanding of the different segments in terms of first time donors, reoccurring donors, major donors, and how to personalize that outreach for each segment. Some other points that I wanted to make are so in terms of metrics related to end of year giving. So typically one out of three nonprofits tend to incorporate 2 or more touch points for their end of year appeal. And that's great. I think definitely room for improvement if that's something you're currently not doing. I think it all ties back to who your donor base is. Of course, you as a nonprofit know your donor base the best. So if you're receiving majority of online gifts, it would make sense to have at least two different touch points via email, also social media, especially since that's how you communicated with your donors in the past and have seen a high donor engagement. If that's something that's not being incorporated, maybe you didn't do that for Giving Tuesday, there's still time to incorporate it now. All right, so nurturing first-time donors. So in terms of a stewardship plan, it's very important. And, I have a lot of conversations with really showing the value of stewarding donors with our nonprofit clients at Double the Donation. It's really valuable and it can be effective too, because it helps to increase donor engagement as you're communicating with them, before they give, during their gift, after their gift, and then continuing hopefully until they give again within that same calendar year. So I noted that, it really helps with donor engagement. It improves the donor experience and the donor journey. So really, no matter the size of your organization, it's really important to understand what your donors experience when they give for the first time. What does that donor journey look like? And then for reoccurring donors, major donors, are they all experiencing the same thing, or is there a different, really different journey for each donor? That definitely should be a different journey because each donor, very important, really offers something different for the nonprofit. And it's, important to identify what that donor experience looks like for each type of donor. It helps boost your donors continuing to give. Really, it could be month after month, it could be twice a year, it could be annually. Really, what are the factors that make a donor come back to give to your organization? Um, and that really ties in place with stewardship. It helps to when you're acknowledging their donation, you're showing gratitude, you're recognizing the donor and showing also what's the impact of their gift to your nonprofit. I've given to a number of nonprofits, different sizes, really coming from different industries as well. And the reason I continue to give is because really I'm reminded, and also I can see, okay, what are the funds actually going to? It's always great when there's like a personalized story about, how your gift helped in some way to contribute to like the overall big picture or vision for the nonprofit. Those are the type of emails that I receive, and the reason why I go back as a donor to give to those nonprofit organizations. It also helps encourage donors to contribute more as well. So maybe you have a donor that gave $20 their first time, showing the impact of a donation. And of course, if the donor is in a better economic really state at that time, it may make them think about reconsider giving and then giving at a higher amount. So instead of 20, maybe they're going to give 25 or 50, especially during end of year when most people, if they have the opportunity to be, they want to be more charitable in some way. And it's really important as a nonprofit to develop a marketing plan if you don't already have one. This is really going to be an ongoing process, stewarding your donor base. Ideally, the goal is to have it continue to grow. So this is something that should evolve and improve time over time, year over year. Um, Specifically when you have fundraising events and then in different seasons like end of year giving season, it should also look different or it can be improved on as well. So moving to first time donors and then transitioning to reoccurring donors. So these are just some points just based off of my experience with different nonprofits that they've seen a significant increase because of some of the actions they've taken. So first thing is definitely showing the impact of a gift. I think this, really can't stress this enough of the importance of showing the impact behind the donation, showing, last year in 2020, we received $50,000 from donors. And because of this, we were able to build, or because of this, we were able to help these number of individuals, it always tying it back to the vision. I think it's really an impact statement, and it keeps the donor engaged to the big picture, the overall vision and mission that your nonprofit has. It's not just about, giving to make me feel good as a donor, but I also want to see that my donation means something. Also sharing stories and the vision of the organization. So I can even give an example of a story that has been impactful. I've given to an organization, so St. Jude, I think we're maybe all familiar about that organization. The monthly emails that I receive pertaining to patients, and how their patients don't have to worry about um, really a hospital bill because of the charitable donations that reoccurring, like monthly donors that give, or even if you're a first time donor, those stories are impactful, and it really personalized and makes you empathetic as a donor, and you're able to see the big picture of why I continue to give month over month, or why, because it's December, because it's end of the year, I'm already going to be giving to maybe loved ones, friends, within my close circle, but I also want to make a bigger impact as well. So maybe for the first time, or maybe this may be a couple of times I've given already, but I definitely want to give in December. So it all ties back to what the vision is for the nonprofit. Ongoing communication as well. I've had experiences where I've given once, and I haven't heard from the nonprofit until maybe they have another upcoming event. I think like fundraising events. So, the impact of that could be I feel disconnected. I'm not sure what has happened between that time, and definitely nonprofits that continue to keep you updated. If it's a monthly email that goes out, if it's on a quarterly basis, maybe a review, or just highlighting some of the successes that have happened in the past quarter with a newsletter. Those are all great avenues to continue to keep your donor base really connected. Also, giving incentives to give again or give a larger gift. So, definitely, if you have the ability to, I know this doesn't apply to all nonprofits, but definitely for medium to larger nonprofits across the United States. This is something that I've seen where, especially if you give above a certain donation amount, they may give you a gift like a blanket or a t-shirt. Just something, again, keeping you connected and making you feel, because you are part of the nonprofit because of your charitable contribution. Also sharing appreciation of the gift. So really ties into continuing to be have gratitude, and not taking your donors for taking them for really feeling that they will give again, even though it's really based off of if they feel connected to your nonprofit. So I think that ties into the donor journey. If you don't have a donor journey at this time, perfectly fine. But I think it does make sense as we are wrapping up 2021 and we're looking into 2022 to identify what you want your donor experience to look like for each type of donor. So first time donors, we talked about reoccurring donors and major donors. I think those are definitely the top three segments that most nonprofits tend to focus on. And highlighting reoccurring donors and telling their story. So, if you're able to identify a list of donors that give month over month, maybe they give more than that. Maybe they give twice a month, which would be fantastic. Um, what is the reason? What is the drive behind a donor coming back consistently, giving to your organization? That story should be told, and it would help encourage other donors or potential donors as well to say, okay, there's something different about this nonprofit. If they continue to tell different stories of donors that give consistently, there's something that I want to learn more about the impact that they're able to achieve. So in terms of reoccurring donors, again, I like to tie in some of the metrics because I think it shows the value of each donor as well. So in 2021, 45% of worldwide donors enrolled in a monthly giving program. And this is, again, worldwide, but it does show you really the importance of reoccurring donors. So uh, when I say reoccurring donors, that really can encompass a donor that gives on a monthly basis, semi-monthly, multiple times a year, or annually. So if they've given more than once, but they give, maybe in the month of December, they're still a reoccurring donor because they continue to um, come back and donate to the organization. So of course, this is definitely a priority for all nonprofits. It doesn't really matter the size. And it's also the value of having a reoccurring donor to consistently give back is it helps the nonprofit move forward. You're able to plan for the future because of your growing base, your growing donor base, and the growing donor base sustains the organization um, sometimes for years to come, really. So I wanted to talk about really major donor fundraising. So these are just some best practices of donor fundraising that I wanted to highlight. I talked about increasing communication with donors and the importance of that. Also, making it a bit personal. Again, no matter the size of the organization, but what I have seen are even with small organizations, maybe you just started your organization, you may not have that much of a um, donor base at this time, or maybe your organization has been up and running for the past couple of years. This next point of really connecting with your donors, asking how they're doing, making a bit personal as well, because although you definitely appreciate their gift to your organization and it helps to sustain the nonprofit, it's always great to just check in with your donor base as well to see how they're doing, especially during these times. Um, Offering virtual opportunities and events. So this is specifically for major donors. I think the importance, we all know the importance of like virtual communication now because we were a bit forced into that. And there's definitely benefits of providing a virtual option to your donors and specifically major donors because it's taking that step further, making it personal. So donors that give at a larger amount and really major donors can be defined in different ways based on the nonprofit. maybe a major donor is someone that gives $100 or more because your nonprofit has just started. That's perfectly fine. For other nonprofits, it may be donors that give $1,000 or $10,000 or more. And either way, it's great to have a options for them and making a personal connection with them so they feel even more connected. Other best practices for major donors are increasing really donor appreciation. So, handwritten notes, maybe a phone call. It's great to also have a better understanding of what those particular donors prefer. So, if they are giving a large amount, it's good to know if they prefer phone communication, email communication, or maybe they prefer a handwritten letter. And, you know, if you don't know that, I think it's perfectly fine to ask when you are communicating with that donor so that for um, future times when you're reconnecting with them, they would definitely appreciate that. And yeah, I think it just makes everything better and a better donor experience as well. Also, have a planned giving option, hiring if you have the capability to hire a major gift officer, a team that's focused on major gifts or focused on volunteer focused. Again, it's going to be tied into do you have the bandwidth to do this? But if you do, if your organization is now seeing a growth in your donor base and you have the funds to add additional team members to your nonprofit, it definitely makes sense to have someone dedicated to major giving. Being transparent as well. This really ties into all of your donors, no matter the type of donor they are. It helps when you're able to show really the ROI. So, what is the return on investment for the gift that they're making? Maybe at the first time, maybe they're giving again monthly, or they've given just a large gift that they haven't given before. Um, and being showing, the impact, the results of where their funds are going, really can have a positive effect to encourage donors to give again. And then last point that I wanted to talk about is prospect research and wealth screening. So I'll definitely talk about this more in a few minutes. But wealth screening is really a tool that's used to identify major donors and really potential major donors for the organization as well. Okay, so creating realistic fundraising goals. I'm sure that all of you, no matter the nonprofit that you are in, no matter the size, have had fundraising goals set for 2021. If you've met them, that's awesome. If you haven't, that's okay as well. There's definitely room in the month of December, and then also looking ahead and as we enter 2022 to identify um, fundraising goals specifically for your organization. So, um, tying this back to wealth screening, this tool can be used. It's really like software that helps to answer this question for you because you're able to identify, looking again at a segment of donors that give the largest amount to your organization. Um, it helps to identify those donors. It is so in terms of fundraising goals, they could definitely vary depending on whether you're attempting to secure gifts for major donors or engage donors that give at a lower level. And that's fine as well. Maybe you don't have a very robust major donor base, but you do have a lot of donors that give for the first time or are transitioning to give more than once. That is just as important as focusing on major donors as well. So it's definitely important to identify the donor base that you have and how to improve that, how to keep them, continuing to keep them engaged. It helps you get a better understanding of each donor that you have, their capability, and it helps you to guide and really when you're having these fundraising campaigns outside of end of year giving, but definitely want to talk and highlight the end of giving season because even with a couple of weeks left in December, there's ample amount of opportunity to really keep your donors engaged or start engaging them now if that's something that hasn't happened in 2021. So, in terms of wealth screening, this is a software that helps with prospect research. And the research that goes into wealth screening helps to determine your donor's capability and really the capacity that they have. These are some of the indicators that it focuses on. So it looks at the employer that they work for, their past charitable giving, if they have like any real estate stock information available. There's a number of software, um, wealth screening software that can help you with this task and really automate this for you. It also helps to identify realistic fundraising goals because you're able to see um, more than just like what you see from John Smith as an example that gives maybe $20 each month. You can also see like who John Smith's employer is, also what they've given in the past as well. So it gives you the full picture, or at least helps to identify the full picture of each donor. And it helps in terms of major giving, planned giving, and it uses key information to help maximize the revenue that you're already receiving on an annual basis. So in terms of maximizing revenue with wealth screening, there are a number, really 3 points that I want to focus on. So first thing is determining eligibility with in relation to matching gifts. So this ties in with one of the indicators being an employer. So wealth screening helps to identify where your donors work and specifically if they offer a matching gift program. I'll go into matching gifts in a few minutes, but just to give you a quick overview, matching gifts are really a type of corporate philanthropy where the employer has a matching gift program. So they're encouraging their employers to be more charitable. They also have their own set of guidelines and the type of nonprofits that they will give to. But as long as it fits within those guidelines, majority of companies will help to double the donation that was given. So if we have a donor that gives $25 and they work for Home Depot as an example, that donor can submit a request to their employer and Home Depot will match that donation. So instead of 25, $50 will now go to the nonprofit organization. So wealth screening definitely helps with identifying that based on the employer name. It also helps to create targeted asks. So we talked about the importance of segmenting your donors and making sure you have different donor communication as well. It helps you to tailor communication as you build rapport with first time, reoccurring, and major donors as well. And this ideally is going to strengthen the relationship that you have with each type of donor. Last thing is definitely identifying new major donors. Maybe this is something that you don't have a large major donor base, which is perfectly fine. Um, Wealth screening is a tool to help identify potential major donors just based on those indicators that I talked about. Okay, so I want to transition into corporate giving and more specifically corporate philanthropy. So I talked about this earlier, but it's really an act for the corporation or business to promote charitable giving over time for all of their employees. And in terms of how corporate philanthropy helps nonprofits, so it helps their employees give more. That's definitely the reason why um, really, thousands of companies across the United States offer a matching gift program and a volunteer grant program. They want their employees to be more charitable and just help the overall community and society that we have. It is helps to significantly increase revenue for nonprofits as well, no matter the size. Again, if you are a small organization that may raise $100,000 annually, or compared to a medium or large organization that raises millions annually, corporate philanthropy, if it's not something that you're talking about internally as a team and you may not have a plan on, it definitely makes sense even at in the month of December or as you're starting your 2022 goals, if you haven't done that already, to incorporate corporate philanthropy and a plan as well to be successful in this area. So the type of corporate philanthropy, these are the bullet points: corporate matching gifts, volunteer grants, volunteer support initiatives, and corporate sponsorships. I'll really be focusing on matching gifts. So, again, tying in some metrics of matching gifts. Overall, so 26 million individuals work for companies with a matching gift program. And this is looking at these are statistics from 2020. 84% of participants in a survey that Double the Donation had say that they're more likely to donate if a match is offered. 1 in 3 donors indicate that they would give a larger gift if a match is applied, resulting in 51% increase in the average gift size. And when a nonprofit mentions matching gifts in fundraising appeals, this results in 71% increase in response rate. In terms of leveraging matching gift automation tools. So if you have the capacity to invest in a matching gift automation tool that Double the Donation offers as an example, it can help to double or triple an organization's matching gift revenue. So when we talk about matching gifts and how that ties in with end of year giving, it really does go hand in hand. A large percentage of organizations' total revenue, again, as we know, typically comes from end of year giving. So it makes sense that you'd like to double these gifts. And that doesn't mean that the donor has to give any more. It really just makes really the effort that you're trying to achieve when talking about corporate philanthropy, matching gifts, is making your donors aware that their employer may have a matching gift program and making it easy for them to identify that through a search tool. With these matching gift promotions, it can result in a significant increase in both the number and the size of donations. So it's really a great way to make your end of year appeal or just fundraising appeals in general to stand out and keep your nonprofit at the forefront of your donors' minds. You know, really consistently, and so they become a reoccurring donor. All right, so again, I wanted to talk about corporate philanthropy overall. So over 20 billion dollars. This is the amount received through corporate giving within 2018, and this is a 5% increase from 2017. So really, this is money on the table that Fortune 500 companies have, medium size, local, um, like businesses have on the table, where they have a designated budget each year that goes towards corporate philanthropy, goes towards, matching donations, or also for volunteer grants. If you're a more volunteer focused nonprofit, there's also the ability where, based off of, if you have a donor that works for a company like Johnson and Johnson, that may have a matching gift program, based on the number of hours they work, that could result in a grant to your organization. So they raise 25, they volunteered 25 hours at your nonprofit over a year, that could result in something like $200, $500 or more for your nonprofit, which is very valuable. So that just goes to tell you and show the value of making sure you're aware as a nonprofit, that this is available, and really money on the table, that it makes sense to also market this to your donors so they're aware that this could be an option for them depending on their employer. So 9 out of 10 companies match employee donations. 77 million. So this is the amount of Americans who volunteer their time and energy to organizations, just focus on the United States. So again, the importance of sharing with your donors that their employer may have a volunteer grant program, their employer may have a matching gift program, and also sharing the importance of like what that actually is as well. So this is really just highlighting the process behind corporate philanthropy. So number one thing is using a corporate philanthropy database. So I mentioned marketing, matching gifts, marketing volunteer grants to your donors or volunteers for your organization. If you haven't already invested, maybe if you have the capacity again to invest in a database, it definitely makes sense to invest, in order to automate the process and make it as easy as possible for your donors and your volunteers. It also helps to encourage volunteers and donors to get their hours matched or get their donation matched as well, especially if they're able to identify, like, oh, I work for Home Depot, or oh, I work for Starbucks and they have a matching gift program. Like, it's good to know, and it's great to know too, maybe before they're giving. You can make it easily accessible on your website. You could also send emails to donors, put it on social media, depending on your donor base. So it really helps to, again, maximize the donations you're already receiving. Donors don't have to take an extra, dollar out from their pocket. It's really about submitting their request to their employer, which really can take a matter of 5 minutes. But the key thing is making donors aware that this could be a possibility for them. All right, so going back with donor engagement, just to highlight as we're wrapping up this discussion, some of the ways to expand your relationship with donors in this month of December as we're at the end of year. Stewarding your first time donors, establishing a relationship with recurring donors, using wealth screening as a tool for major donors, investing time and effort into launching a corporate campaign, highlighting matching gift opportunities in your end of year appeal. And if you can, leverage an automation tool surrounding corporate philanthropy, so matching gifts and volunteer grants. There's still time to do that as we are in the end of year as well. So, yeah, just really wanting to highlight it's never too late to launch more of a donor engagement strategy, even though we are in December. Time to get started is now. So you've taken the extra step out of your busy schedule to listen to me for the past couple of 30 40 minutes or so. I hope it was valuable, and I hope this also really just re-energizes you again if you haven't identified a plan or you're looking to improve the plan. As you know as well, majority of donations for most nonprofits happen in this month. So it makes sense to look at what has been successful maybe in previous years, and then look at what should be implemented and improved on now that your donor base hopefully has grown, or if it has changed as well. So with incorporating some of these practices and investing in tools to automate the process. So I talked about wealth screening, I talked about corporate philanthropy tools. This helps to really keep your donors engaged as we have just a couple of weeks in the year of 2021. So yeah, that is really all that I wanted to discuss. I definitely appreciate everyone's time today. I hope there were some great takeaways that you could discuss with your team and implement even now in these last few weeks of December. Definitely wish all of you happy fundraising as well. These are some of the resources. I know Erica talked about that these slides will be shared afterwards. And yeah, you could definitely go to any of these links that talk about like end of year statistics, marketing resources. Those are all available to you. All right, so any questions about donor engagement? Um, you know, if we're not able to get through any of the questions, or maybe there's more of a specific question related to your organization, you could always feel free to email. I have our support email address here. And yeah, that would really be available to you when the slides are shared as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Iman. We are getting a few questions. Do you want to run through some of those?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Absolutely. One of the first questions we got was, are there specific corporate philanthropy databases you recommend?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I work for Double the Donation, and we are a matching gift software database. So we have, over 23,000 companies within our database that identifies matching gifts as well as volunteer grants. So definitely, if you're looking to learn more, this would be the best email to, connect with us to learn more about our services, especially as we're wrapping up 2021. We've had a number of new clients that have signed up in these last couple of days.
Great. Another question we saw come in was, is it too late to have a donor engagement plan for end of year this year?
Yeah, great question. So it's definitely not too late. I've had conversations with a number of our existing clients where they're, really looking at, okay, we had a plan for Giving Tuesday. Maybe it was successful. Sometimes it wasn't as successful as they may have hoped, which is perfectly fine. And then looking at what can we improve upon in these last couple of weeks in December. So again, you know your donor base the best, but if you are receiving online gifts, it may make sense to send an email out or communicate to donors via social media about the impact of their giving in 2021. And then also looking ahead in 2022, how their donations within the month of December can help propel your nonprofit forward. So definitely there's a lot of opportunities to communicate to your donors even now in December as well.
Great, thank you. Another question we saw was, we are a smaller nonprofit. Does it make sense to start thinking about corporate philanthropy?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I don't know specifically, how much your organization is raising, but in terms of, I, again, have had experience with organizations that raise maybe less than $100,000 annually. And it may not make sense to invest in like a fully automated um, software at this time because it's just not within the budget, and that's fine. Um, if that's the case, there are a lot of resources that we offer, frankly, on our website. I linked it in the previous slide here, just so that could be readily available to you. But we have a ton of resources where we highlight like the top companies within our database that have a matching gift program. And even if you market that to your donors, that could really be valuable because it's something they weren't aware of it before, maybe something your organization wasn't aware of either. If you're raising more than $100,000 annually, then I definitely think it would be valuable to invest in automating the matching gift and volunteer grant program more for your organization. And again, you could definitely email us to learn more about our services.
Great. And in that thread, we had another question asking, what are some of the best tools to automate corporate giving?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in terms of, yeah, so I again wanted to go back to Double the Donations matching gift software. So, we help to automate that submission process for your donors. We're able to integrate with, over 70 fundraising donation tools and CRMs, depending on what platform you're using, or you can import donations into our software and we can send emails. And there's a ton of things that is available with the software we provide that helps to improve corporate giving for your nonprofit organization. It gives you a ton of like top opportunities. We help to identify match eligible donors and donors that also work for a company that has a volunteer grant program as well, if you are more of a volunteer focused nonprofit. So yeah, that's definitely the tool that I would highlight from Double the Donation. It's actually called 360 Match Pro, but definitely if you'd love to learn more about that, you can feel free to email us at support@doublethedonation.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Iman. I think that's everything that we've seen come into the chat today. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I'm sure it will be helpful for everyone with our year-end efforts.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, happy holidays to everyone. And I hope that you all have a great fundraising effort, even in these last couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.